entertainment, current events, and Hollywood. Don't miss Creator to Creators, hosted by the filmmaker Meosha, known for the Shudder hit documentary Horror Noir and the acclaimed film Anatomy of an Anti-Hero, Redemption. This show features interviews with filmmakers and creatives from around the globe. Join the fun with guest celebrities and gain valuable insights. Subscribe now and follow Creator to Creators.
Hi guys, welcome to Creators to Creators today. Today we have a special guest.
My name is Georgiou. I'm so excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. I'm excited to have you on. I love going back to the beginning. I always say the beginning, all like charts our trajectory, where are we going in life, our little habits we pick up along the way, kind of follow us into our adulthood. Tell me a little bit about what your childhood was like and how did you find your way into doing the things that you're doing now?
Oh yeah, it's crazy to even think that because I feel like not a lot of people ask that question typically. It's normally what was life like after college and you're like, okay, that wasn't that long ago, so I can remember. But no, I mean, I feel like my childhood, I remember I had the most amazing childhood first and foremost. I think that the one thing I continuously remember for it was always being extremely busy. I feel like my parents always had me in multiple different sports. I did karate, I did ice skating, I was
Wow.
in soccer, I was in gymnastics, and it was always one thing after another. But I remember always loving it, and it was always something that I would tell them, okay, I want to try this next. And I think that's always just been a personality trait of mine.
Yeah.
Um, so I feel like just going back and forth from sports, really intensive in school as well, just like always trying to build myself, always wanting to try something new. And I remember just like never wanting to be comfortable. I feel like once I did something for too long, I was always like, okay, what's the next thing that I can try out? What's the next thing that I can
Yeah.
do? I also come from two parents who were both entrepreneurs. Both of my parents actually came to the US from Greece.
Nice.
So their upbringing was, very non-traditional. They came to the US at a pretty young age and it was not easy. So I always had two really amazing people to look up to who were very hardworking, always push themselves to their limits. And I think that really tracked down to me and myself wanting to push myself to my limits.
Yeah.
And I really think that translates into who I am today and my career today and how I got here, essentially.
Yeah. That's amazing. Like I know for me, it was one summer when I was 16 years old. I remember renting one summer the Alfred Hitchcock like Presents series, and I was like, I want to be whatever he's doing, I want to do that, like that kind of sparked that everything from there. So was there someone that you saw that, I mean, besides your parents, like that you're like, okay, I want to start my own company. I want to do these big, massive things. As a female,
Yeah.
women, we're told, we're
Yeah.
put in boxes all the time.
Mhm.
So to break out of that box and to break out of that mold, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. I honestly, I owe everything that I've ever done to this day to my parents, truly, because I think at the end of it all, they've always been the people there for me where if things are going super well, they're my biggest cheerleaders. And if things aren't going super well, they're always the people that are my biggest supporters
Yeah.
as well. It's not only when things are going good, it's when things are going bad as well.
Yeah.
So I think to answer your question, they've kind of always been those people for me. And at the end of the day, the encouragement that they've been able to provide for me, I think that they always formatted the way that they've taught me things in the opportunities are endless. They
Yes.
said, if we could do it, you can do it 100 times better. They always
Yes.
tell me we're setting a foundation for you so you can take a step there and build something bigger for yourself. So it's really interesting because I think that when you're a first generation of two parents that come from a different country,
Yeah.
found a lot of success in starting their own business, they were in survival mode. Like really at the end of the day, it's kind of life or death. You have to make something out of yourself. So to me, the way I always see it is if they can do it, I have no excuse that I can't. So I've always seen the opportunities are endless and even more than that. So I really think at the end of the day, they're kind of the foundation for me. Obviously, I have a lot of other people who inspire me and who have supported me, but from when I was so little up until now, they've just always been those people. And I'm so, so incredibly grateful.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, gosh, I mean, yeah, absolutely. I think it's something about having those parents that can speak life
Yeah.
and if they did it with all the tools that we have now, there is no
Yeah.
excuse, right? The social media, digitally, like everything is online. And,
Mhm.
we can utilize this opposed to being back then when they were born. It wasn't so
Exactly.
easy.
Exactly. That is exactly how I see it, where it's almost all these tools and all this information is so accessible and so at our fingertips at this point, where the argument is also like sometimes it is very overwhelming. Sometimes the opportunities are so endless and there's so much information at our fingertips where I'm like, what do we even do with all this? Like, what direction do you even go
Yeah.
in with all of innovations every single day? Like, there's always something new. So, there's good and bad with it, but I definitely agree with you where at the end of the day, when you see people make something out of nothing and you're starting at one step beyond that, how can you fail?
Yeah.
It's always just kind of pushing yourself and just wanting more and wanting better.
Yeah, 100%. What inspired you to start HG Media?
Yeah, so it's really interesting because when I had gone to college, I went in for marketing and business law. I wanted
Okay.
to go down the legal route. I actually wanted to be, ideally, I want to go down the route of like an attorney in like the business field and potentially
Yeah.
working on like the small business side of things. Went into school, decided to take that as my minor because I really wasn't sure. I was like, it's very specific, and I don't know if I want to commit in that route if it's not something I'm not sure that I like quite yet. So I was like, okay, let me dabble into marketing and law. We have the creative and the analytical side of things. I really started to fall in love with marketing. It not like it wasn't as creative as I thought it would be, but you can be analytical with it and you have to be analytical with it. So I liked that you got both pieces of that within that career route. And then when I was on the track to graduate, I was like, okay, what is the direction I want to go in? And I remember I was like, I want to work in global marketing in the sports field. So I want to work with Red Bull or Billabong or something just like really exciting. I want to
Yeah.
travel and I want to do all this stuff. So it's really interesting because if you can go back and tell yourself what you know now, everything is glamorized. Every
Oh
job
my
is
gosh,
glamorized.
yes.
It's like everything
Oh.
seems so great until you kind of get into it. And it's finding the beauty in everything, obviously. But
Yeah.
I think I was just kind of making all this stuff up in my head. And there are jobs out there that do that. And maybe one day I feel like that could be awesome. But I think things started falling into place very uniquely when I was a senior in college. Actually, no, second semester of junior year, that's when COVID hit. So obviously, we know that's a really detrimental time of internships and jobs because you're about to graduate.
Ooh. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
to me, I was like, okay, it's a little bit of a hit, but we're all sitting at home. So I can find a job anywhere now. So I
Yeah.
almost saw it as an opportunity of there's a lot more doors that are going to be able to open because I'm not confined to where I live.
Yeah.
So I ended up getting an internship at an entertainment firm called Studio 71. And then
Nice.
I ended up getting a full-time job there after my internship. And I was working there for about 3.5 years. I was working in business development. So it was essentially my role was like the middle person between the brands, the platform, and then our company. So it was a creative role. I was working with influencers. I was working on like marketing campaigns, and I really saw everything end to end. And that
Yeah.
was the first time I was able to see that. And I was like, this is awesome. This is kind of the new wave of where everything is going. And there's
Yeah.
a huge uprise in the industry. So again, it's kind of like I mentioned to you before. I always had a knack of wanting to do my own thing. It
Yeah.
was just a matter of what is that thing going to be. So when I was at Studio 71, it was during the time where Snapchat was making a big uprise.
Yeah.
And I was actually put on that account where I was handling all the beta programs for
Okay.
Snapchat.
Okay.
And I
That's
was like, huh, most of us haven't touched Snapchat since we were in middle school. I wonder what's going on here. And I really start to like see the uprise of what's now called Spotlight, which is like TikTok on Snapchat. I
wow.
saw the stories monetization. I was onboarding 500 influencers a month onto the platform. I was really, really specializing on that one platform. So then when that kind of phased out, and their programs were up and running and it was self-sufficient, and Studio 71 kind of came off that account, I told myself, I was like, okay, I think I want to start transitioning out, not for any reason aside from the fact that I know I want to do something on my own. And I have to make myself uncomfortable again. I'm getting too comfortable.
I get it. I
Um,
completely understand that.
yeah. So it goes back to the question that you had as well of like, tell me how you grew up. It's interesting because I honestly haven't even thought about it until right now and making that connection of, okay, I got good at this one thing. It's time to go to the next thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I felt like that's how I was getting in my corporate career. Loved everyone I worked with. I thought it was just the
Sure.
most phenomenal place to be. But I was like, okay, what's the next step? So I told them December 2023, I was like, okay, that's going to be my last day. I said, if I speak it to the universe and I tell my boss, then it has to be real. I can't go back on it. So in December 2023, I left Studio 71 and then I was working on HG Media. It was just like an idea in my head, but I was like, okay, now's the time to start.
Yeah.
So January of 2024, full time started HG Media. And with my co founder, his name is Colin Harrington. And yeah, we've just kind of been the duo ever since, and
Love it.
it has been phenomenal. And I'm excited to talk more about it as well.
That's exciting. That's exciting. So for those out there, starting your own business is, I'm sure, pretty kind of scary. And there's a bunch of media companies out there that
Yeah.
offers things. How did I don't know, to me, like, I'm sure there's been a lot of challenges. What were some of the biggest challenges as far as like scaling HG
Oh,
Media?
yeah. Absolutely. I think the biggest thing at the end of the day is credibility. Um,
Mm.
I knew going into it, I told myself, I was like, okay, the first 2 years, you're going to be building your reputation
Yeah.
pretty much. You're going to be gaining clientele. You're going to be doing jobs, but I think people have this misconception sometimes when they start their own company, no matter what it is, a media company, a retail store, whatever it is for that first year, two, three, even first 5 years, you're pretty much going to be at a loss because there's going to be a lot going into marketing. There's going to be a lot of just time going into
Yeah.
networking with people because you're asking them to spend money with you.
Yeah.
So they're not going to be spending money with somebody that they can't see case studies of like something bringing to the table.
Yeah.
So for us, it was really all about getting that first client and
Yeah.
really starting with something and being able to build. And at the end of the day, with your career or a first job or an internship, it's almost like you need that one person to give you a chance and then you can start growing from
Yeah.
there. So I really think that was kind of the biggest thing. And it's still something that's challenging because at the end of the day, you work with people and they see you and they're like, how old are you? Like, you're so young. What do you know? And kind of, comments like that. And it's expected. It's
Sure.
fine.
Sure.
But I really think at the end of the day, especially in digital, things move so, so fast. And you really need people who understand a certain space really well. And just because they're a smaller team doesn't mean they can't do what a 20-person team does. Because
Yeah.
I've worked with people at these massive companies and these 20 people teams, and the efficiency sometimes is really not there. So I think there's kind of a misconception of a smaller company can't handle the requests of maybe what a bigger agency can, let's
Gotcha.
say.
Yeah. No, I'm sure that's something that's comes up a lot. Like, oh, how old are you? Because you look, yeah, I mean, you do look amazing, like super young, but that's a good thing. It's a great thing.
Thanks.
Like, look at me, I did it, and look at you. Um, it's so cool because I read, your bio and the people you work with, and I'm curious of what was that, one of your most memorable campaigns that you worked with, and I think you did work with Disney and Levi projects. How was that?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
did
It
you think
was,
you could land that kind of deal, or was it surprise?
yeah. I think I always, like I had kind of mentioned before, like the expectations for myself and Colin, like I said, who is my co-founder, we work super, super closely. Our expectations for ourselves and our business have always been so high,
Love that.
where in my head, it's always been like, I am going to work with these clients because I have before. I know how to do it. Why am I not
Yes.
going to? And
Yes.
it's not like it's a fake it till you make it mentality. It's more of like, I'm going to come in and I'm going to be confident because I do know what I'm doing. And
Yes.
I do feel like I should be here. Everyone kind of talks about, imposter syndrome and things like that. And I think that is very real. I think it is very human. Sometimes, especially in the beginning, you are going to feel a little bit like, should I be in this room? Do I know what I'm talking about? But again, I think it's with sales and with marketing and everything you do and networking, it's all about how you talk to people. They are not going to buy into you no matter how young or how old you are if you don't sound confident in what you're saying and you don't sound
Mhm.
confident in what you're trying to present to them. So I feel like going back to your question of working with these brands and how it kind of came about, a lot of it was networking and a lot of it was getting on calls and really being able to explain to people what we can provide to them. And
Yeah.
it's been really awesome because you see that with the retention of clients as well. I think one of the biggest projects that we were able to do was with Amazon Music.
Nice.
I it was the first time they had ever wanted to activate on Snapchat with their merchandise. And it was for Charlie XCX. She was going on tour and they were like, hey, we've never used Snapchat before. We would love for you guys to basically come in and run a creator campaign on Snapchat and TikTok. We'll kind of see which one performs better. We'll do it as a test run and kind of go from there. And yeah, it was incredible. We were able to be creative. We were able to work with the creators. We were able to be analytical and be able to take those numbers and comprehensively pack that together and bring it to a client and say, this is how it performed in a way that people understand because you can't just shoot data their way and that's it and be like, here you
Right.
go. So yeah, it's been absolutely incredible. And another awesome thing that we did was with the Chicago Bulls as well.
Nice.
So they are very active on Snapchat. um, and we have a great relationship with their team, and they had come to us and at first it was for summer league in Vegas and they wanted a creator on the ground at summer league doing coverage of the event. So that was a really awesome experience. And then they had to come back and they were looking for a creator to actually go to Chicago to cover the game and then the revealing of like the new court that they have at their home court. So that was really awesome to see. I was able to go out to Chicago, meet the team, and see Chicago for the first time. So
How
I
was
thought that was
Chicago?
really
Never
cool.
been.
But truly, at the end of the day, to me, what I've noticed, and I'm sure Colin would say the same thing, all of these things have been built off relationships. It's been built off of clear and quick communication and being responsive and just being able to make those people's lives easier because I think they're so like brands are so used to people coming in and making their lives harder. If you can come in and be like, hey, we can take this off of your plate, they really appreciate that. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I love that. I love that. How do you gosh, I mean there's so many things I wonder, just like the things that you guys offer, what you guys do,
Yeah.
but how do you ensure the authenticity, right, or the values of the campaign is, resonates, but also at the same time deliver those things like the message, the campaign that you're delivering.
Absolutely. I think the biggest part of it's storytelling, right? And
Yeah.
if we're talking about influencer marketing in specific, it's about sometimes finding that super niche, random person that they are looking for, and you're being tasked with that challenge. to find a person that can relay that message and relay it organically and just make it feel like their story is resonating with their audience. I think sometimes that's often missed in influencer marketing, just because you see a lot of these ads on social. Like, for example, we can use TikTok as an example. I feel like it was getting to a point where every time somebody opened the app, it was advertisement, advertisement, TikTok shop. People are like sick of being sold to. So I think as a brand marketing agency, that's something that we really have to communicate really well with the client of, hey, listen, this has been our findings with other brands. This is what other brands are doing very successfully. And this is what we recommend replicating with this campaign. So it's a perfect balance between our feedback and recommendations and their brand voice and messaging. And then the influencer being able to take all of that, craft it into a story, and then blast it out to their audience.
It's really cool. I love that. So I like asking this question.
Okay.
Yes, that comes on the show. And there is no wrong answer, but the three levels of influence: money, power, and respect. And if you could choose only one of those things, which one would you choose and why?
I would choose respect, to be completely honest, because I think that's what brings everything else.
Yeah.
I have seen a lot of people where when you're too money driven, you start chasing the wrong things. You start straying away and losing who you are a little bit because you're just chasing a check. And really at the end of the day, that's coming from a standpoint of, some people are in different positions where they're like, I need that and I have to go in that direction.
Yeah.
And that's fine. But I also think that, some of the creators that we have or some of the creators that I talk to every day, opportunities come in and I'm like, hey, the price is good. I don't know if I would necessarily take it because I don't know if it's good for your brand, because you have to think longevity as well. This can make you miss out on opportunities that are much bigger 6 months from now.
Absolutely.
So that's one part of it. And what did you say? Money, respect, and
power.
What was the third? Power.
Yeah.
I think when you're respected, I think that's what brings you power, really, at the end of the day, because when people respect you, people will listen to you.
Yeah.
And when people listen to you, I think that's what really gives you the power. And when you are a respectable person with morals, that's when you have the good power to use your voice to make a difference and to use your voice to bring out positive messaging and spread positive messaging, really, at the end of the day. So hands down, I feel like not even having to think about it, respect would totally be my answer to that question.
I love that. It's a great answer. It's a great answer.
Thank you. What would be your answer? Has anyone asked you?
Well, not really. So I like this. I like this. Switch it around. This is good. This is good.
Yeah.
My answer would honestly be money, because of I know the person that I am, and I've seen people with money, but the personality and the type, it's like, wow, they're gonna get that. That someone gonna get money and do that with it. So I would use it to help and open up doors in different situations. So I have, in this business of entertainment, it does take money to move the boat, like move the needle. I kind of think that respect is great and I love it. I think at the end of the day that, as a few people that I've talked to in the industry that I respect very much, they say that either people going to respect you or not, and you can't have everyone that's going to understand you, and that's just the reality of it. And I'm like, yeah, so that would say money to move the boat needle in the entertainment world, because I think there's a lot of women that I work with, and if they had more of that, they could, we're not respected in a lot of rooms, just because we're women, and I don't think we have a long way to go in that, respect. So, but
Absolutely.
I love yours.
Yeah, and I love yours too, and that's why I wanted to ask, because I think you see the other person's perspective on it as well, because you're right. Money does open up a lot of doors, or it can give you the resources to open up certain doors. So I completely agree with you on that. I think a balance of all of them is so, so important. And just being able to use, whether it's money, respect, or power, using that for good.
Yeah.
is really the ultimate goal. So yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. How do you stay on top of like emerging digital marketing trends? Do you like, are you constantly just checking out to seeing what's going on? Are you like like it's like a daily thing. So you're on social media all the time, huh?
It's so funny because I feel like when you're done with work, you don't want to go on social media because you're like, wow, I don't even have the desire to scroll. When people are like, oh, like TikTok, like brain rot, I'm laying in bed like scrolling. I'm like, I don't even want to see my phone at the end of the day. But it's a super valid question because things are moving so fast.
Yeah.
But I think it all comes from the platforms. So I think with the trends, I look at the platforms first. So I look at what's coming out with Instagram, what's coming out with Snapchat, Facebook, TikTok, and then it kind of all trickles down from there, just because it's all going to stem from the platforms. I think aside from the fact that we all have to chronically be on social media and understand the next thing,
Yeah.
that's kind of where I get all like my digital news from, is kind of analyzing trends that way. But I watch the platforms really, really closely. I watch what is, the next thing that they're going to be rolling out, what beta programs do they
Mm,
have right now, because it will prompt you how to pitch to your brand clients as well.
nice.
Because as long as I'm up to date, I can go to our clients and I can say, hey, Snapchat is rolling out this brand new program. TikTok is kind of still on the fence whether it's going to be shut down or not. I think we should start moving some more ad budget to Instagram or Snapchat or Facebook. This is why I recommend XYZ. So it is a huge part of my job as a brand marketing manager to be on top of all that, because we have to bring that information to clients. Because if I'm recommending that they're putting all their budget on TikTok and I wasn't aware that it's going to go away, they're going to come to me. So you really have to be careful with all that and be that person piecing together the puzzles for them.
Yeah, absolutely. As a female entrepreneur, right?
Mhm.
In this competitive industry that you're in, what
Yeah,
advice would you give to women who are looking to start their own business?
absolutely. I would say confidence is everything, because you will be in rooms with people that are going to look at you and they're going to act, and it might be other women and it might be men. And I've seen it all the time. Like, it's just really with anyone, people are always going to look down on you, no matter who you are. They're always going to think that they're going to know more
Yeah.
or you can't bring anything to the table. If you want to start your own business and you're new to the space, you have to go into it being so okay with rejection and being really strong in the values and the goals that you have, because there will be people telling you your idea sucks. You just can't listen to it. You can take the criticism and you can say, maybe there is something about it that's not resonating with the audience. Okay, I'll take that into account and see what we can do. But I knew going into this that, like I told you, my background, I've always been in sports. I did acting growing up as well. They're all very critical fields. I feel like I got really used to it, of people will always have their judgment. So I think that's going to be my biggest piece of advice, especially as a woman getting into this space, especially if you're a young woman, or honestly, whatever age you're in. There will be people criticizing you. Don't listen to that criticism. Whatever entertainment, whatever space you are in, just stand true in your morals and your values, and keep that goal and keep that vision in mind. If it's a piece of paper or a post-it note next to your computer, hold on to your why. If you have a strong why on like why you started this business or why you're doing the thing that you're doing, nobody will be able to tear you down. They just won't. So that's my biggest piece of advice.
That's beautiful advice. That's absolutely great advice. Thank you. That's such great advice. What would you say if you didn't do this, if you didn't take this route, what route do you think you would have taken outside of this? As far as like your where do you want to go like with your life, your career?
That's so interesting because I feel like a lot of this in terms of my career and my route has been in my hands, but it has also not been in my hands. Like, certain pieces of it had to fall into place for me to go in this direction. And it's almost hard to imagine life in any other way because
Yeah.
I feel like like that is such a
Same.
good question. Like I have no idea because I think that, you know, sometimes you're put in those weird positions of like, for example, like I mentioned before, I knew I wanted to go into like global marketing, working in the sports field and being able to travel a lot for my job. And I was always trying to go in this direction. I was interviewing with one specific company. I think I had applied to 40 different positions, had like 15 different interviews, like kept getting to the end and I was just never getting it. And I was like, okay, is this me always going in this direction and the door is about to open? Or is this God telling me, no, this is not your route. Like you need to be going in this direction.
Yeah.
So I think I really turn to my faith a lot as well,
Mhm.
where I'm just kind of like, if I am supposed to be here, I'm supposed to be here. And, you know, sometimes people are a little too reliant on their destiny where it almost like disables them, where they're like, everything will fall into place and it will be okay. That's also not reality. It's always the perfect balance of you have to work really, really hard. You're working night and day and you're really fighting for it. But sometimes if it is not meant to happen for you, things are not going to fall into place for it to work. Sometimes there's a different direction. So it's kind of hard for me to imagine because I wake up every day and I'm really excited and really proud of what I do. But I almost can't imagine anything different. And down the road, that might change as well. And I'm so open to that if that's what's meant to be. But as of right now, I think everything have kind of played into a way that I'm really excited and really happy about.
Awesome. I love that. That's beautiful. Well said. I love it.
Thank you.
Where can people find you and your company information on social media to reach out to you for anything?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have a website. It's hgmedia.us. And you can reach out to me at hope@hgmedia.us. Myself and my co founder, we're both on LinkedIn, super active on LinkedIn. That's also my big advice to anyone getting started in the industry. LinkedIn is like a holy grail of networking. It is so incredible. So my name is Hope Georgiou. You can find me there. And then my co-founder, his name's Colin Harrington. And yeah, I always encourage, I love speaking with people. I'm always responsive when they reach out. And yeah, you can pretty much find us on all social media, LinkedIn, website, we're everywhere. You kind of have to be, right?
Yes, sadly.
Right.
I can't keep up with it. I try. Instagram is like my main baby, but like
Yes,
everything else I try. I'm like, okay, fine. It's a
I
lot.
know. It is a lot. It is. It's a lot of upkeep. It's a lot to keep up with, but it's almost like each platform has its own set of audience and its
Yeah,
own set of people you connect with. So yeah, we try to keep up with everything, especially in these early phases since it's so important. But yeah, you can find us across any of those.
awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time. It was a pleasure. It was lovely meeting you. And thank you for telling us
Thank
about
you.
your company and just hearing your journey was just lovely. Thank you again. I appreciate your time.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure to be here. And I hope this helps anyone listening, honestly. So, yeah, this was awesome. And it was so nice to meet you.
Same. It's nice to meet you too. And thank you all for listening. And always remember to live, love, laugh. We'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.